I'm Nguyen, founding president of Bitcoin Association. We're the global industry organization that supports Bitcoin SV, the BSV digital currency, and blockchain. And I am very proud to welcome you to our very first ever BSV blockchain conference in Miami. I'm sure it will not be the last because there are so many great local supporters here of the true power of Bitcoin. When people hear about Bitcoin, one of the things they always think about is the digital asset that people are investing in, hoping to get rich. Or they hear about it as hopefully a new, more efficient form of money. Today, we're going to spend time talking about what Bitcoin's true power really is, which is a combination of both data and money. This is one of the things that we always talk about in the BSV world, how Bitcoin really is the fusion of data and money combined together. It's right there in the word, bit, data, and coin, money. And it is so much more than people have thought about over the years. And as we begin today's journey, I really want to focus on the power of data, because it is that fusion of data with monetary value that unleashes the significant potential of Bitcoin. Data is the new oil of the digital economy. And it is something that we hear about every day. We use it every day. Every day, 306 billion emails and 500 million tweets are generated by all of you, some of you right now. 95 million photos and videos are shared every day on Instagram. 1.7 megabytes of data is generated by each of you every day. And if you think about the world's history of data, 90% of it has been created in just the last 2 years. And 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are produced every day, and that means 463 exabytes of data will be generated by every one of you in this room, every human, by the year 2025. That's huge amounts of data, and it's led observers such as IBM in this report to begin understanding that there will be a new data economy, where monetization of things such as IoT devices, all the endpoints being generated around the world, will actually create monetary value. Where does this data live? It has traditionally lived in server farms such as this. It has now moved to cloud storage such as Amazon, Google, and Azure. But because of the rise of Bitcoin and blockchain technology, it is moving to distributed ledgers shared across many computing devices around the world. And that is why you'll learn today that the BSV blockchain is really focused on becoming not just the world's most efficient payment network, but data plumbing, data infrastructure for the world. As we kick off today's conference, I want to begin on a quick journey through the history of Bitcoin and how we view it as a data network, how it's important to really scale the Bitcoin blockchain massively, as well as why it all matters. What can you do with this particular use case? So let's begin by talking about why Bitcoin is a data network. Bitcoin exists because it was designed to solve a problem that the internet did not solve. When the internet emerged in the 1990s, it became a powerful way to distribute data across computing devices around the world. And you see here a diagram of some of the layers of internet protocol, IP protocol. But what it did not create is a native way to send money, to send payments. And so we had to layer on top of internet protocol other things, payment processing, credit cards, things such as PayPal and other services like that. And it created inefficiency with intermediaries that cost money and made it difficult, if not impossible, to send small amounts of money across the internet. And that's what Bitcoin was birthed to solve. For those of you who haven't read it, I encourage you to actually go read the Bitcoin white paper. This, the famed Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, posted in 2008, which introduced to the world Bitcoin's design as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The very first sentence of the abstract tells us very clearly what that vision was. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payment to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. It was designed to be able for all of us to send one party, me, to another party anywhere in the world, electronic cash, without having to go through someone in the middle. And the design of the system that was birthed to do this was what we today call a blockchain. But it's the concept, instead of having one company or person, one bank, one government agency keep track of the ledger of transactions that you have to trust and depend on to process the payment, we have multiple players, multiple computing servers and devices around the world that are all maintaining a shared ledger that we can all trust. And because they're all participating in the process of updating that ledger, it doesn't require just one person in the middle to be able to process the transactions. And that ledger, that blockchain, records payments, as well as we'll learn today, other forms of data transactions in a time-stamped manner, time-based. That's very critical to the understanding of blockchain that people forget about. It's the time order of transactions that gives it its truth, that gives it a shared history that we can all trust. And those transactions are collected into blocks, and they are linked across time. And that's why today we call it a blockchain. But if you actually read the Bitcoin white paper, it refers to it as a distributed timestamp server. So again, that concept of time is very important. Time stamping transactions so that you know the chronology of them and you know their process in the truth of history. And another key aspect of the Bitcoin white paper people forget about is the importance of honesty. The word honest is used in the white paper 15 times. And even though Bitcoin gained a reputation in its early life of being used for illicit criminal activity, it really was designed to create a ledger system that is public, auditable, verifiable, and transparent, because we can all view it. We can all see the transaction history. And that's why honesty is very important to its design. And this design creates a system that is more than just electronic cash. That is its first and most known use case. But it created a system where you have Bitcoin as a blockchain, the ledger. It is a data network, which is a network of devices connected to each other, transmitting data to each other. And it's also a network protocol, just like we have IP protocol that governs the internet and how internet-connected devices communicate data to each other. There's a foundational rule set for the Bitcoin network that is its Bitcoin protocol. You'll hear a presentation about that right after I'm done speaking today. With this set of rules and this design, you can do many things. You can write data to the blockchain. You can read data from it. You can allow people to own, control, and monetize their data. And you can even compute with data. So you can send monetary value, which is what Bitcoin was designed to do, transmit and access data. You can do more advanced concepts such as tokenizing assets, smart contracts. You can manage devices and even create marketplaces on the blockchain for big data, and one day we believe computation driven by functionality on the blockchain. So this vision for what the Bitcoin network as a data system, a data protocol can do is very, very grand. And you probably are asking, well, why haven't we seen this before? Bitcoin has existed in the world since 2009, the launch of the blockchain. Why has this vision not become a reality? And the reason is because of battles over whether Bitcoin should scale. For this vision to become a reality, the Bitcoin network needs to be able to process huge volumes of transactions, data, just like the internet grew in data capacity. This needs to be big in scaling. And that is what Satoshi Nakamoto always envisioned. This is a very well-known email from 2009 that Satoshi sent to a known developer named Mike Hearn, saying there is only one global chain. The existing Visa credit card network processes about 15 million internet purchases per day worldwide. This was back in 2009. Bitcoin can already scale much larger than that with existing hardware for a fraction of the cost. It never really hits a scale ceiling. That was Satoshi's design vision. Bitcoin never really hits a scale ceiling. Just like the internet grew in capacity from the days where we were downloading MP3 music files very slowly from modems, to today where we get upset when our HD films do not stream quickly enough for us to watch the latest Marvel movie on Disney+. It continues to scale, and that's what we expect the Bitcoin network to have done. But unfortunately, that's not what it did do. Most people think of Bitcoin by the coin under the ticker symbol BTC. We call it Bitcoin Core because it refers to the leading protocol development group of that network. They have chosen to maintain and restrict the block size, the amount of data that can be added to the blockchain on average every 10 minutes, to a very small capacity, 1 megabyte in size. That's the size of photos that you used to take on older generation smartphones. Today, they're much bigger in size. It doesn't allow very many transactions to be added to the network, only a maximum of 7 globally to the BTC network per second. If you wanted to rival the Visa network, which was Satoshi's vision, that's nowhere near enough because Visa does generally about 2,000 transactions a second, and at peak periods, 50 to 60,000 transactions a second. Imagine if this is what we had done to the email network, an email protocol back in the 1990s. Imagine had we created an email protocol system that only had a capacity of 7 emails per second for the entire world. People would not have used email. Now, you might think that's a good thing, there'd be less spam in our lives, but it's become a very powerful function for us, where instead today, the email and internet protocol system scaled to achieve today 2.4 billion emails per second are sent globally. And that's because of a belief in technological scaling. Well, that's the belief we have with Bitcoin SV. Unbounded scaling. Do not limit the scaling capacity of the network by what protocol developers decide on any given day or year. Let it scale to market forces. And unlike BTC, which is at still 7 transactions a second, Bitcoin Cash, which is at about 60 transactions a second, BSV has taken an unbounded approach where our protocol developers have lifted any automatic cap. It should grow to what market forces demand and how technology improves. And we've been able to demonstrate with the live test of a new enterprise-class version of our Node software earlier this year, 50,000 transactions, in fact, up to 75,000 transactions per second. And that's enough to rival the Visa and MasterCard levels, but it's not enough for the bigger vision of Bitcoin. But it's just a powerful start. And we're already seeing the takeoff of the BSV network's data capacity. This is a chart from CoinDance, a very common site people refer to for blockchain metrics. And the red line demonstrates BSV overtaking in May of this year the BTC network in the yellow line, and was called accumulated blockchain growth, the total data size of the network. And you can tell it's hockey sticking up, and we can expect that to continue to exponentially grow as more and more applications, like you'll hear from today, are using BSV for all kinds of data capacity, not just for electronic cash payments. And we have hit 2 blockchain scaling records recently. We started lifting block caps that miners had been setting, and we saw a series of 1 gigabyte blocks, which is very large already. That's 1,000 megabytes compared to the BTC network's capacity of 1. And just recently, on August 16th and August 20th, the world saw on the BSV network the world's first 2 gigabyte blocks mined on BSV, which is the current cap that miners are setting for a period of time as they're waiting to see how the network adjusts to this bigger capacity. That's 2,000 times the capacity of what's happening on the BTC network. And for miners, it means more profitability. The total block reward for those blocks were over 16 coins, meaning the miners earn the fixed subsidy, which is currently 6.25 coins per block, plus an additional 10 coins. So more than double what they would normally earn for a block with almost no transactions in it. And this is not a unique occurrence. In fact, just in August, we've seen 15 blocks mined on BSV that are 1 gigabyte or more in size. It's gotten to the point where gigabyte-sized blocks are now kind of boring on BSV. And that's the way it should be, because no one thinks about how much data is flowing around the internet. We just use it as plumbing, as data infrastructure. So compared to other competing blockchains, our big blocks are giving us transaction capacity that's exceeding most of the competing blockchains. And this has a very practical effect. It's not that I like big blocks just because, but as people who follow me know, I like big blocks and I cannot lie. It's that it has a practical effect on the ability of application developers and companies to build really useful tools. On the BTC network, transaction fees are high and unreliable. When you send a Bitcoin payment or data, somebody, the sender, needs to pay a fee to the miner who adds that particular transaction to the blockchain. On the BTC network, because its capacity is small, sometimes the fee is low, sometimes the fee is high. It depends on whether or not the network is backed up and you have to essentially pay the miner more to get your transaction into the chain. So here's a chart of BTC fees over the last year at various dates. It's ranged from $3 to almost over $33 in April. Recently, it's come down to $6, or yesterday it was about $1 US. But that's still too much if you want a powerful payment and data network that the world will use. Far too much. And Ethereum, the main competing chain that people thought was going to be the business chain for smart contracts, and lots of tokens were done, especially during the ICO craze, it's even worse. It's gone from $16 in January of this year to almost $70 in May for the gas fee to send a single Ethereum transaction, to just the other day, on August 31st, $43 to send a transaction. So for those of you who are trying to mint an NFT, if you want to charge $10 for your NFT, that's great, but it's going to charge you at least $43 to even make the NFT. And so the economics of that do not work particularly at scale. With BSV and our powerful scaling, less than 1/100th of a cent. Here's our median transaction fee. This is from June of this year. At go even lower over time as we scale even more. And that's for the average typical payment transaction, which is small on data size. If you're uploading movie files or images, it will cost more, but it'll still be relatively inexpensive compared to the other chains. And this is not a unique occurrence. The median fee for the entire year of 2020 was about 1/50th of a US cent. Why is this important? It's important because it fulfills another part of Satoshi's vision articulated in the white paper people forget about. People think about buying Bitcoin because they're going to make $1 million. They're going to spend $100,000. People are buying Bitcoin now. It's Tesla, institutional investors, buying up large troves to hold as a reserve asset. That's not what Satoshi designed. If you read the white paper, it describes the need to be able to solve the problem of sending small, casual transactions across the internet. We did not need Bitcoin for rich people to be able to send $1 million to someone anywhere in the world. Today's financial system can do that already. But we do need Bitcoin to be able to send 1 penny efficiently to anyone, anywhere in the world. Why would you want to send 1 penny? It might be fun to tip someone on social media. It might be fun to pay someone to play a game of yours. It might be useful to be able to actually pay someone to read an email of yours. It might be useful to pay for access to an Airbnb through door locks in which they're activated by 1-2 cent payments. There are many uses of small payments. And that is causing transaction volume on the BSV network to grow. In fact, over the last month, transaction volume on BSV, according to this pie chart from BitInfoCharts, has started to overtake all of the other major blockchains, getting to about 2 million transactions per day. A lot of that is driven, you'll hear today, by a popular game called Crypto Fights. But I expect more and more applications, including some you'll hear from today, to be starting to generate their portion of large transaction numbers that are data, that are sometimes small payments, down to a penny or more. The potential is why we are preparing for even bigger blocks. There's an enterprise-class version of the Bitcoin SV node software being developed by the team at nChain, which is our main research and development arm that supports the infrastructure of the network, that is trying to achieve what we call teranode, terabyte-sized blocks. That is 1 million megabytes, which seems enormous, but we believe it's possible to achieve billions of transactions inside a block and transaction capacity on a blockchain that is millions of transactions a second. Why would you do this? You don't need this just to create an electronic cash system. You do need this if we view the blockchain as the distributed data and payment combined network that can work with the internet to be the most powerful data system the world has ever seen. That's our vision with BSV. Why does this all matter in real life? Over the next few hours of today, you're going to hear from many companies that believe in this vision and that are using the BSV blockchain to build amazing things. And they're going to be able to do many things with it. Imagine a world where on the blockchain, I as a consumer can, of course, send you a Bitcoin payment, and that data is recorded to the blockchain. Or I can take a picture, upload it to an Instagram-like app or social media, and that's reflected in the blockchain. What if I took music, multimedia files, and I'm a music artist or a record label, and I recorded those to the blockchain? My healthcare data, which right now is stored in all kinds of different doctors' offices, could be accessible in a universal place like the blockchain. Supply chain data, as products move across the world from different places, could be more efficiently recorded and tracked on a blockchain. Court, legal, government documents could be accessible through the blockchain. And the data necessary to power smart contracts that automate agreements between us as people or companies could be on a blockchain. And then all kinds of micropayments could be sent by people all over the world to access that data that you authorize, that you want to engage with. That's the future of blockchain that's being built on BSV, and that's why you're seeing so many diverse use cases across many industry sectors already emerging, from payments, of course, down to the micro and nano level, financial services, ID management, social media, digital advertising, entertainment, AR, VR. We're seeing tokens and stablecoins emerging, data integrity platforms, RegTech, healthcare, you name it. And bigger things, Internet of Things and big data feeds, they're all going to be coming to the BSV blockchain. Here's a quick preview of some of the things you'll hear about today and some things you won't hear about today. We think the BSV blockchain and Satoshi's vision can reinvent the internet as we know it. Today's internet relies on many free services that you access for free, like Facebook. But it's really not free because your data is shared or used to serve advertising to you. What if we could reinvent the internet where you as the user might be actually paying some amount of money to use internet service, but you might earn money back? For example, reinventing digital advertising, such as a company called Tonic Pow is doing, where you can be incentivized as a user to promote advertising content to your circle of friends on social media, and you would actually earn small amounts of Bitcoin from the advertiser, paid to you in small micropayments. What if you could reinvent consumer reviews so that they're more authentic? And instead of having the platform make all the money, what if as a reviewer, you spend all that time eating at that restaurant, writing the review, you could actually earn money in small amounts of Bitcoin SV micropayments? What if you're an Instagrammer who's developed a following, you don't actually make money from Instagram right now, but you could with an app called Relica from a team out of Australia that allows people who are uploading images to get tips, you'll see on the right there, little green amounts of money that get added to your Bitcoin wallet. And they've even gone so far as to really leveraging the power of location data by now taking what are essentially NFT-type tokens, relics, dropping them that represent essentially Bitcoin that you can collect at different places around the world. They're dropping them in Miami, by the way, today in honor of our conference. But they're really trying to take advantage of the combination of location data as well as money through Bitcoin payments. You could actually use Bitcoin and its blockchain technology to encourage better behavior by us as people. You'll hear from the founder of Anna, an accountability platform that uses our blockchain and its payment system to encourage you to be more accountable for your goals, whether it's weight loss, whether it's career goals, or just making it on time to BSV blockchain conferences. Recycle SV is an app from a founder out in the UK, which is encouraging people to recycle by having them actually earn small amounts of BSV or points when you recycle a particular product. You can play games. As I mentioned, Crypto Fights is really lighting up the BSV network. It is a role-playing game. You'll hear from its founder today virtually. And it allows people to create an avatar, battle each other, but it's using our blockchain not just for virtual items as tokens, but to actually record the data from each battle move to the chain to ensure the integrity of the games, especially for esports betting, which is becoming more popular. And that's why the public nature of the chain is so critical in its timestamp history to be able to make sure the record of events, of battle play, is actually in order and can be tracked. And it's a very good example of how people from the Ethereum network have woken up to the power of BSV. Adam Kling, its founder, explained they decided to leave Ethereum because of its problems. Bitcoin SV, he says, is the best choice for us and the value we have are working to bring to the esports community. You'll hear from one of the founders of Haste Arcade, which has created a great new concept called instant leaderboard payouts, where imagine if in the old days, if you played arcade games, you stuck a quarter in, you want to get on that leaderboard of Pac-Man or Space Invaders, but You don't actually make any money from those games. But what if you could? What if you pay to play, you get on the leaderboard, and every player who comes after you, if they don't beat your score, you get a tiny amount of money from the amount they paid to play. All possible with BSV micropayments. For the casino gaming world, you're going to hear from the CEO of BitBoss, which is a casino gaming technology company, which has reinvented the process for how players in a land casino can actually get money into a system to play, and how the casino manages it themselves with a digital wallet that they have built called their BitBoss Bridge ecosystem, all built on the BSV blockchain. All of these technologies require the use of powerful wallets. And so there are many in the system. Some you see here on the screen from Handcash, a dot wallet. The founder of RelayX will be here to talk about some of the things they're doing, particularly in the token space. Financial products can be created. Fabric is a fintech company emerging in our world, which we'll talk to you about its solutions. And you'll hear from the founder of .io, which is really trying to introduce DeFi technology into the BSV world. There's also movements to try and manage identity on the blockchain, because we have one big public ledger. What if your ID could be managed from one place, so you're not logging in to different sites all the time with different login credentials? MetaID, a company out of China, as well as Maxton browser, a big internet browser out of Asia, are trying to solve that problem. And even at higher levels, smart contracts are coming to BSV, and you're going to hear from the founder of Script, which has introduced a high-level smart contract language to introduce much more powerful capabilities to our world. Data integrity is very important. You're going to hear from Veridat's founder about how his platform is going to ensure more integrity in the clinical research data for drugs, pharmaceuticals, and other medical innovations that are being tracked by regulated entities such as the Food and Drug Administration. And COVID is, of course, top of mind in today's world. You're going to hear from the founder of VXPass, which is using our blockchain to provide a source of tracking for people's COVID vaccinations, including being actually deployed in the small country of Lesotho. And you're going to hear from EHR Data's, one of their founders, about their healthcare platform. These are just so many of the applications that are going out there in the world. We're going to close this part of the session by just talking about how even a country, the small island nation of Tuvalu in the South Pacific, has seen the power of blockchain technology, and they're using the BSV blockchain to create the world's first national digital ledger, moving e-government services, citizen records, to a ledger built on the BSV blockchain. All of that is a recognition of how a blockchain is more than just an investment asset. It's more than just something people speculate on, which is what you hear about all the time. It is the recognition that Bitcoin, at its original design, was birthed to create the fusion of data and money. Because data is the most valuable commodity of today's digital economy. And it is us in the BSV community who is most focused on unlocking the potential of that fusion of data and money together as one. For those of you here today, I want to thank you for joining us. We expect an insightful day. I hope you learn a lot. I hope you ask a lot of questions. And more importantly, I hope you leave today with the belief that we all have, which is that Bitcoin has the power to transform our world, not just from business, but how we interact with each other and with data every single day.